Hey y'all, I make biscuits probably every weekend, and I made them, was it yesterday? It was yesterday. Made biscuits, posted it, and asked a few of you if you wanted to see a video. A few of you did, so that's what I'm gonna do today. Any of my stuff that I cook, if you ever want to see a video of it, just let me know in comments or whatever, and I will get that uploaded and posted for you. If you hear my little, he's running around. I didn't get up early enough to do it before he woke up, so we're just gonna have to have that for our background noise. So the first thing I do is I put my oven on 450. Seems high. You wanna cook high and fast so that the inside gets done, but not overdone, so that it stays fluffy. I also use self-rising flour. Add your salt. You don't have to add anything like that. It's already in your flour. You're also not gonna have to use a separate bowl. I mix directly in my flour. I make a little bird's nest, a little well, whatever you wanna call it. That's what I make. And I promise you, if you don't dig your hands to the bottom, that it's not gonna ruin your flour. You'll be able to reuse it over and over. You'll be able to use it to measure. You see I have a measuring cup in here to measure things out and bake other things later. You're not gonna have to use it strictly for your biscuits or dough or whatever. So let me get my measuring cup out because we don't measure around here. I will try to guesstimate the different measurements while I'm going so that will help you a little bit. And I forgot my buttermilk. 1 minute. Okay, back with buttermilk. You know, my refrigerator's here if you know my home. I didn't go to my refrigerator. We've actually been without a refrigerator since September 2nd. We have one in the garage that we're using. We have an upright freezer. Something about having it in your kitchen though. With COVID, it's hard to get parts in from China to get it fixed. So we're on a schedule for Monday. Cross your fingers for us. I hope it happens. We'll see. We've gone this long, I'm kind of over it already. So what you're gonna need is biscuit cutter. I'm gonna say 2.5 to 3 inches. That's what this is. Let me get an exact measurement for you. Some people wonder. Okay, so it is 3 inches. My pan is 10 inches. I make 7 biscuits. You can make more. I have my cast iron, and I do cook in a cast iron. I don't make biscuits in anything other than a cast iron. This is actually, I want to say my great-grandmother's. I know it was my grandmother's. It might be my great-grandmother's. I don't use it just for biscuits. Some people have just a biscuit pan. I use it for all kinds of things, but it doesn't stick. I do coat it with a little bit of Crisco, and I only cook with Crisco when I make biscuits. I do, like I said, I do coat it a little bit, but they don't stick. And if you forget to coat it, it's usually okay. If you cook with cast iron, you know that that's how that works. So 3-inch biscuit cutter. I got a package of them off of Amazon. I will link it below. What I purchased, I like them. It's not thick. It cuts really nice. Or you can use a old can, whatever you have, a cup, find something. Whenever you're buying your buttermilk, I use, and I don't know if any other brands make whole buttermilk. Borden is the only one I've been able to find. Everybody else, if you use like the store brand, not that it's bad, but it's usually low fat, and you don't want low fat for biscuits. If you're eating biscuits, you're not looking to eat healthy anyways. So we go full fat. Crisco, you can use any type of Crisco you want. I like the butter. If you normally buy canned biscuits and they are butter flavored, go with the Crisco. If you don't want the butter flavor and you're using them for maybe dinner, then go with just the regular Crisco. Either one's gonna work, whatever you have in your cabinet. I'm actually almost out, so we're gonna make do today. Okay, so here's a clear picture of my bowl. So the first thing you want to do, so your flour is usually gonna be loose like this. First thing you wanna do is you wanna pat it down. You wanna make yourself a little well. I don't know if you ever did in school. I want to say it was science that I did it in. I'm not sure. But you would put baby powder on your hand and then you would dip it in a bucket of water, pull your hand out, and your hand was still dry. It was so cool. Same concept. So you want to make it kind of flat, like a little well. Doesn't have to be a ton. I'm gonna go ahead and bring my sides up. You do want flour along your sides because that's where you're gonna pull from. You're not gonna pull from the bottom, you're gonna pull from your sides. And you're not gonna scoop like that, you're gonna pull with your finger. Or the edge of your finger. Okay, so we have our Crisco. I reach in, my hands are clean. I dip it out. I'm gonna go ahead and do maybe that much, which is half a tablespoon, and I'm gonna do the inside of my pan. And if you've grabbed too much for your pan, don't worry about it, throw it in your flour. And just grease the inside of your pan really good. Set it aside. Okay, and then you want to reach back into your Crisco and grab, that's probably 2 tablespoons. Quarter cup, 4 tablespoons, something like that. It's like a ball, like a golf ball size. Put it in there, okay? And then you want to go ahead and open up your milk and pour some in. I'm gonna go with probably a cup, half a cup. So the thing you wanna do is you wanna start breaking up your Crisco, just kind of mushing it around in there. And if you don't like getting your hands messy when you cook, this is not the meal for you. Remember, do not touch the bottom. Okay, you do not want to touch the bottom, not right now, at least. If you scoop at the bottom, that's whenever you start getting your flour messy. You don't want to do that. And then you want to start working your dough. So I kind of go around, just kind of grabbing at the sides a little bit. I turn my bowl. You don't have to. If you're good at it and you could go all the directions, that's fine. My hand only works one way. So you'll start seeing where the flour, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but you can start seeing where the flour gets on top. So that's starting to incorporate. Right now, you can mess with it as much as you want. But once you start getting more of a dough consistency, you don't want to over knead your biscuits because then you have tough biscuits. You want fluffy biscuits. So I'm gonna go ahead and incorporate my flour, and every now and then just kind of break up your Crisco. You don't want clumps of Crisco in one biscuit. You want it all over. And as you go around, you're gonna scoop and bring in a little bit and mix it in, okay? You'll notice I turn my bowl in all directions. Just using the knuckle of your finger and you're scooping your flour in. And you want to kind of work fast because you want your ingredients, your buttermilk, to stay cold. My Crisco sits in the pantry, so it's not cold. You'll notice it gets a little bit thicker. Just kind of work with it. And continue to scoop your flour from the edges. And you'll see it fall in there. And don't worry, if you leave little clumps in your flour or whatever, and it's not a big deal. Let it sit overnight, go back the next day, sift your flour, and it's all better. Okay, you'll notice it's starting to get thicker. It's almost like a pancake mixture. So at that point, you kind of want to start, I kind of flick my, is the only way I can describe it. And it's almost like it's turning it over into itself. And you'll get to a point where you can actually pick up the sides of your dough and bring them over. See, I got a little bit right there. I'm just gonna throw it into the other batter. That way I don't have to worry about it. It happens, it's not a big deal. So I keep on until you get to the consistency that you want. Again, remembering not to scoop all the way to the bottom. You don't want to pick up from the bottom. You want to pick up from the sides. So mine's starting to get to where I can actually pick up my sides and scoop them over. Go ahead and work your Crisco a little more in there. And if you have a clump of Crisco in one biscuit, you know, it's not the end of the world. That lucky person gets to eat. Actually, I feel a piece of flour that had hardened before. You really want to start pulling in more and more flour from the sides. If you'll notice, it looks like I'm mixing a lot, but I'm more or less just touching the outsides of the dough. I'm not over mixing the middle of the dough. You want your dough to stay fluffy and soft and nice. Okay, now I can actually pick up and fold over and pick up and fold over. And as you do that, it's gonna pick up quite a bit of flour and work it into your dough. It does take practice. My first set of biscuits, I don't think we ate them. I wanna say we threw them away. They were really dense, really bad. But as I've made them, they have gotten easier. If I'm not making a video, I can usually get biscuits in the oven probably 10-15 minutes. Doesn't take as long. They also bake fairly quickly. And you don't want to roll it out too sticky. If you've ever made pizza dough, that's kind of the consistency you're looking for. I'm just really kind of flipping it over, and you can see the consistency has really changed in my dough. Still a little sticky for me. Sometimes I make these during the week. Most of the time we save them for the weekend. Okay, now my dough is pretty, I mean, it's still sticky where there's not flour. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and take all your dough off your fingers. And put it down in the bowl, okay? And take that dough, because that's usually pretty sticky, and cover it up. So before you roll your dough out, you want to take a little bit of the flour from the side and flour your surface quite a bit. I don't like my dough sticking to my counters. I'd rather dust off flour than scrape off dough.
Give me a minute. Mama didn't give me a cookie.
Okay, so what you want to do next?
That's like you, Mom.
Yeah, what you want to do next is you want to take your dough. You just want to scoop your dough out onto your surface. Remember, it's pretty pliable. Sprinkle a little on top, just so that you can touch it without it truly like sticking to your fingers like that. Okay. Then you want to take it and you want to fold it over. You're not looking for a perfect dough here. A little bit more flour. Okay, see how soft it is? It's really soft. I'm going to fold it over one more time. And this way. So what you're doing here is you're creating your layers. Okay, and I guess we'll go one more time. There we go. So now I'm going to pat out my dough. I usually get in a 10-inch pan about 7 biscuits. Just pat it out. Let me grab my pan. It is greased. You want to pat it out so maybe 1/2 inch. Remember, your biscuits are going to rise. And another thing, whenever you're picking your pan, you want to make sure your biscuits touch. You can cook them on a cookie sheet. Just know that those outside biscuits may spread a little bit. What causes your biscuits to rise is because they're touching. Okay, you want to take your dough cutter. I take mine. I dip it in here. Take it out. It just flours the edges a little bit so that your dough is not sticking. So 1/2 inch, pat it out. I don't use a rolling pin or anything fancy like that. You want to go ahead and just cut your biscuit, okay, and see how it sticks. That's okay. Just put it to the side and cut your biscuit. Okay, it just means I didn't have enough flour. And then keep on going. So usually the first time I can get about 4. They're pretty pliable. I kind of dust them off just a little bit and lay them in my pan. I will show you what it looks like in my pan whenever I'm done. Your dough is going to be very soft, so you want to work with it. I'm going to call it light fingers. You don't want hard dough. We're not making bread here. We're making biscuits. It is a bread, but we're not loaf bread. Okay, then you take your dough, put it back together. Again, don't knead it. You're just kind of putting it back together so that you can flatten it out again and cut out a few more. Okay, another 1/2 inch. Dip your cutter. See if I can get one more. Yay. They don't have to be perfect. They just have to taste good, right? And then the middle biscuit. It's always the best one, I think. Okay, be right back. I'm gonna go wash my hands, clean this up. Okay, our biscuits are done. They probably took 10 or so minutes. You want it that color. Yesterday I made some. They were super dark and you don't want them to be that way. So you want them just a little bit golden brown. What I do is I take mine immediately. I do not let them rest. And I go ahead and I dump them out. Okay. And then I break them apart. You can see the steam on them. They're really hot. I'll go ahead and cut one open for you. Okay. Let's grab the middle one because that's always my favorite. And they rise. Cut it open. They're super fluffy. Let you see the inside. They're super hot too, but super fluffy. And then take some butter, put it on there, and I always close mine up. Helps the butter melt. There you have it, homemade biscuits from scratch.